So this month, our theme is Into the Mystic. And we kicked off our series earlier this month talking about a clean slate and approaching things with a beginner's mind. We looked at when opportunities arise in our life to see things with those new, fresh eyes. And the importance of using our spiritual tools, right? We talked about meditation and affirmations and prayer. And I believe it was our Reverend Joe. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Thursday night, apparently I ordained Joe, calling him Reverend Joe. Our Reverend Joe says, yeah, you got to get out the map, use the map. And it became a thing. So get out your map, practice your meditation, your affirmation, and your prayer, and that will get you on your way. Yes? The following week, last week, our practitioners presented an amazing service on Zoom. It was Valentine's Day, and it was all about love. Talking about love, yes. love.
What a great job they did.
They did. I mean, again, it was just so fun to sit back and watch them. Let's give them some extra love.
Yeah, for sure.
Many kudos came in for our amazing practitioners as well, and all those that shared. So go back and check out the replay if you missed it. You can see those messages on our YouTube channel. And while you're there, subscribe.
Yeah.
Might as well,
right?
So let's get into today's topic. Today we are talking about journey to freedom.
Freedom.
As you know, February is Black History Month, and freedom hasn't always been associated with those from African descent, especially in the United States and by white people. So we're going to talk a little bit today about this idea of freedom, as well as how we can look at freedom through the spiritual lens of love and law. Love and law. And we have a few invitations for you today. So the first invitation is to use the spiritual practice of visioning. Visioning is that receptive state of being open to what Spirit has in store for you, right? It's listening and it's being guided to the highest vision of life. So the specific invitation this month is to do some vision on behalf of our collective consciousness and to ask, what is Spirit's highest idea for a world that works for everyone? What is Spirit's highest idea for a world that works for everyone? And then we can use our power of visualization. See, that's different than visioning. We're going to get to talk all about visioning next month, which I'm super excited about.
Oh, me too.
If you heard us Thursday night, it's one of our favorite practices. So there's a distinction, though, between visioning and visualization. Visualization is where we actually use our creative power of our mind and our imagination to specifically picture that which we desire. So the invitation is to vision and get guided on what is that Spirit's highest idea for a world that works for everyone. And then to visualize that, actually visualize that in your mind's eye, and then be guided to take inspired action. Because this is a practical spirituality. Not only do we practice communing with the divine, but we also move our feet and take action, inspired action, to create that world that works for everyone. And to create the beloved community. So I want to speak a little bit more about what do we mean by the beloved community. See, this was actually an idea that Martin Luther King Jr. spoke often about. So the King Center in Atlanta puts it this way. Dr. King's beloved community is a global vision in which all people can share in the wealth of the earth. In the beloved community, poverty, hunger, and homelessness will not be tolerated because international standards of human decency will not allow it. Racism and all forms of discrimination, bigotry, and prejudice will be replaced by an all-inclusive spirithood of sisterhood and brotherhood. So this leads us into the second invitation, the second call to embrace oneness. Again, oneness is one of these kind of big concepts we talk about. But let's just break it down a little bit. What it really means is that there is one life, one energy, one power that is the very essence of all of us. So when we truly get that we are all one, and we are not separate. It's not just as a spiritual platitude. When we get that we are all one, our choices only include doing those things which we would want done unto us. Because, see, there is no other. We have made up this idea of separation. So oneness is acting as if we are one human body, one loving spirit in action. The third invitation this month, in honor of Black History Month, is to celebrate the multitudinous, that's a word, right?
I like it.
Multitudinous inventions and contributions, the foods, the science, the intellect, the artistry, and the culture of Black folks. And in order to do this, it actually allows all of us to experience more freedom, because we get to experience a new sense of aliveness through the oneness of embracing all peoples. And those of us who practice science of mind, or it's sometimes called religious science, imagine if we were to approach this from a scientific perspective. We are scientists and we are investigating, and we get to learn and get curious about all the contributions of the Black community beyond just sports and entertainment, which our current narrative seems to find comfort in safely highlighting those.
And music.
And music, yes, exactly. So imagine beyond that, the vast contributions that the Black community has to offer. Let's get curious and let's dig in like scientists to see what we can discover, to see what we can learn. We live in an infinite universe. We are all divine beings with unlimited potential, and we are all expressions of the one life. So we're invited to embrace inclusivity, the spirit of life, embrace peace and harmony, and with a focus on spirit, because there is nothing outside of the one. We live in the one infinite presence of the divine, and we are the divine made manifest. So, Reverend Soni, how would you explain your thoughts on oneness and compassion when it comes to this idea of race, as well as in a world that's so divided? Tell us about oneness and compassion.
Well, here's the thing. You know, when you're talking about the infinite, I was just thinking about that. I was standing here thinking. I was listening, but I was also thinking. And I was thinking about the infinite, and, you know, it's all energy, right? We're all energy. And so the one thing that took me forever to understand and to grasp was the idea that, well, if we are all energy and the universe is infinite, then we are connected. We're connected, and there's nothing we can do to disconnect ourselves from that energy and from the infinite. So we are oneness in, through, and as that perfect incarnation of the infinite.
Yes.
And of course, energy cannot be destroyed or changed. So it's really fascinating when you think about it, how we are connected not only to the universe, and that's why we work with the law a lot, but also how we're all connected to one another. And I think it all stems, or the way that we can really boost that idea or really settle in to that idea is through compassion.
Yes.
Through compassion, you know, we have these ideas of, you know, what we want to do to support compassion or action in the world, but really it has to start there. You know, Ernest Holmes said that we should always ask ourselves if what we wish produces harmony, and then be sure there is no hurt to anyone in the world. In other words, if what we want doesn't provide hurt or create hurt to anyone else in the world, right, then we're on the right track.
Yes.
Right? Then
Yes.
we're coming from that compassionate heart. So many ideas and so many things have been created from wanting to serve the world, from wanting to serve each other, you know. So compassion comes from the Latin, and it means to suffer with. Compassion comes in two forms: compassion for others and compassion for ourselves.
Yes.
Which sometimes can be a little bit harder. So let me just give you an illustration. Yeah. That can be harder sometimes. Oh, yep. So let me give you an illustration or an example. And it's about an old rabbi who once asked his pupils how they could tell when the night had ended and the day had begun. Could it be, asked one of the students, when you can see an animal in the distance and you can tell whether it's a sheep or a dog? No, answered the rabbi. Another asked, is it when you can look at a tree in the distance and tell whether it's a fig tree or a peach tree? No, answered the rabbi. So by this time, the students are like frustrated a little bit. Well, then what is it? The pupils demanded. It is when you can look on the face of anyone and see oneness. When you can look on the face of anyone and see oneness. Because if you cannot see this, it is still night.
Oh, wow.
And Henry Nouwen, one of my favorite authors, wrote, when we think about the people who have given us hope and have increased the strength of our soul, we might discover that they were not the advice givers, warners, or moralists, but the few who were able to articulate in words and actions the human condition in which we participate. Not because of any solution they offered, but because of the courage to enter so deeply into human suffering and speak from a place of compassion. So compassion for another is about being with someone in their deepest pain with no judgment, no fixing, and no advice. It's not saying, hey, dude, I feel your pain. You understand? Or even buying into another person's pain and sorrow, you know? It's just being fully present. It's just being with them. It's just being there. And it's not only about the people we love, it's also about the world.
Yes.
The world right now is going through so many incredible changes. And so it's about being fully present with what is happening, with what is. And if we only feel compassion for our friends and not individuals we think of as enemies or people who are not in our camp, right? How many times have you said that? The others in our camp. Or for the countless people who we don't know personally or toward whom we are indifferent, then our compassion is limited and prejudiced and is not really compassion. We cannot have real compassion for another human being unless we cultivate compassion for ourselves first.
Yes.
We can't sit with someone unless we have cultivated that compassion for ourselves. Here's the thing, Reverend Rainbow. I used to travel with this band called Buster.
Oh, that sounds fun. Tell me more.
I used to travel with this band called Buster, and we just had an amazing guitar player who was well-seasoned and really loved to play the blues. And we also had a young bass player. It wasn't Joe. It was somebody else. And he was very young. And one day, you know, our guitar player, George, said, let's play this tune. It was a blues tune, you know. And Jimmy, our bass player, said, the blues again? you know, like, oh, come on, it's so easy and boring. And our well-seasoned guitar player said, look, son, you have no idea how to play the blues. You got to live them first before you know how to play them. So it's the same with compassion. You know, self-compassion involves acting the same way towards yourself as you would another. You know, when you're having a difficult time or when you're suffering or beating yourself up for one thing or another, you know, maybe I'm the only one, but I can beat myself up pretty darn good. You know, instead of ignoring your pain or trying to dismiss it, how many times do we try to push it down or dismiss it? You companion it. and allow the pain to take you to the place of being loving and compassionate for yourself. You might ask yourself the question, how can I comfort and care for myself in this moment, the same way you might ask a friend? How can I support you? How can I stay in that place of love and compassion, right? Well, how can I do that for myself right now? And when confronted sometimes with personal failings, instead of heartlessly judging or criticizing yourself, oh, I should have never said that, for various inadequacies or shortcomings, you know, self-compassion means that you're kind and you're understanding. Well, I really screwed that up. You know what I'm saying? That's just me, of course. This is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to change in ways that allow you to be healthier and happier. But this is done because you care about yourself, not because you feel worthless or unacceptable as you are.
Yes, yes.
So perhaps most importantly, having compassion for yourself means that you honor and accept your humanness. There's the biggie.
Yep.
To accept your humanness. Think about it. Things are not always going to go the way you would like them to go. I'm sorry to break it to
Why
you.
not? Come
Sorry.
on.
You're going to encounter frustrations, losses. You will make mistakes. Oh, gosh. That was a hard one.
But Sonny, I did my morning affirmations.
Yeah, but
Come
you're
on.
you're going to make mistakes.
All right.
You're going to make mistakes and you're going to collide with your limitations. You
Yeah.
are going to be disappointed by yourself and you're going to be disappointed by others. We are going to hurt someone and we will be hurt. It is the choices that we make after the pain or hurt that matter the most. This is the human condition. This is the reality that is shared by all of us. The more you open your heart to this reality instead of constantly fighting against it, the more you will be able to feel compassion for yourself and all your fellow humans in this great experience, and I might add experiment,
Yes.
that we call life. Us to love ourselves, but it helps us to learn to open and receive the compassion that this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about real transformation and healing, because it all comes from within. At the core of every wound is a thought, a belief that we are separate from God, a belief that we are separate from love from one another, a fear that we are unworthy of love. It is a belief that we have accepted about ourselves, and you and me, all of us, we're the only ones who can change that belief for ourselves. You change it first by accepting it, and then by understanding that there's a greater truth to be known. This is what self-compassion is all about. And the thing is, and you've probably heard this, you all have probably heard this, others may tell us that we're good and beautiful and smart and a brilliant speaker. And that feels good, but it's temporary. Because the wounded part of our consciousness will still hold on to the beliefs of not being good enough until we hear it from ourselves.
Yep. That's it.
What do you think?
That's it. So key, right? Right there. So compassion is such a powerful way to practice the spiritual principle of oneness. And I love how you broke it down for us on both compassion for others and ourselves. And it's so important that I like that distinction of, it's not to allow your energy to like get down in the dumps with someone and like, support their pain by creating more negative energy in the universe, but it's not also denying it and just being like, it's all good, it's okay. There's that gift of just being completely present and being able to be that deep and wide container to hold it all. And to know that there is a spiritual truth back of that you can see and know the wholeness of someone else or yourself as the spiritual truth, as well as holding your humanity, right? I think that's what I was hearing you saying. It's like to be fully present is knowing our wholeness and embracing like a warm hug our humanness. Yeah. What a practice of oneness and compassion. And it's freeing. It's actually freeing to embrace our humanness. Because I know for me, I've had such a journey of kind of wanting to suppress and ignore all those negative or bad things and just focus on the positive and create my intention and experiences through this kind of positive thinking philosophy. Yet there is freedom in being able to do that as well as hold my humanity. It's like such a paradox.
It really is.
It's such a paradox, but it's something that just the more I practice and the more I can start to embrace the humanness and the spiritual wholeness of who I am without contradiction. But it's a practice. And that's really what oneness is all about. And it is so freeing. So freeing. So, the question is, we practice the self-compassion, but why is it necessary then to experience compassion and offer service to those with others, right? Those that we may not even have any meaningful relationship with, right? That's the true practice. And through compassion, we can open our heart to embrace all of humanity, not just those that look like us or share our same ideas or beliefs or in our own little small family or worldview, to embrace all. We can show compassion through sacred service. This is bringing this more into the practical. So, the final invitation I want to leave you with is this month during Black History Month, how can you practice compassion in a very practical way? Is there something you have to give or share? There's some examples of bringing certain resources or equipment, sports equipment, books, whatever you may have as a resource to give into unprivileged communities, into neighborhoods that you are able to practice service in a very practical way. So I trust that each of us, as we do that visioning, it will be revealed to us what is ours to do to actually take action in this human world from this place of love and compassion. As well as, as white folks, isn't it about educating ourselves? Education and learning about the past in order to not repeat it. So important.
That word unprivileged is interesting.
Yeah, underprivileged.
It's interesting because we're all privileged. I'm feeling a talk coming.
Yeah. All right. You meditate on that one.
I'm going to vision on that.
Underserved, underprivileged communities, and yet we're all privileged, and then there's privilege. So, all right. Well, something's coming on that one. Yeah. All right. So, lastly, it's important to respect, to honor all of life. And to, as we look specifically at Black History Month, to honor and appreciate without appropriating the contributions of the people of African descent.
Right.
That's a whole other talk. We're not getting into that today, but Google it if you're not sure what we mean by appropriation. There's lots of resources on the internet. So let's live together in harmony and peace and oneness, knowing that harmony comes through as we embrace this idea of compassion and oneness. We are the ones. There is work to be done. Are you ready and are you willing?
I'm willing.
That's all it takes.
That's all it
That's all it
takes.
takes. So let's pray about it, yeah?
I'll
start. I'll
All
start.
right, go for it.
So first, just starting with this sacred breath. Acknowledging with love and gratitude the very presence of life that is breathing me right now. Knowing and recognizing that there is one life, one energy, one presence. This thing called life. Some call it God, universe, isness. Whatever word works for you, there is only one energy pulsing through all of us, all of life, through this field of oneness. And knowing that all are one, I know that I am love, that I am wholeness, I am peace, that harmony is right where I am. Compassion moves through me as I allow it, as I open up and allow the love of the divine to flow in as and through me, knowing compassion for myself. And as I know compassion for myself, I can't help but exude it and share it with others. Love is what is real. Love is the healer. Love is always the answer. And compassion is activating that love in action. So I know that I am always guided to allow Spirit to reveal to me its highest good and what is mine to do in creating the beloved community. Knowing and intending a world that works for everyone. I rely always on the truth that love is the answer. I open my compassionate heart to be in that flow of love through action. As I know that there is a spiritual, divine perfection back of all things, no matter what the seeming condition is, I see through to hold the truth of all of life, embracing both the divinity and humanity as the oneness of life. So grateful that we get to experience this thing called life in this human form and all the many gifts and wonderful experiences it brings. So grateful to know that I am love embodied. So grateful to know that I am the divine made manifest in form, right here, right now. Completely present always to what is mine to do, who I am here to be, what I am becoming in this now moment, in each and every now moment. As I pass my word to Reverend Soni.
And just taking a nice deep breath and embodying and accepting the words that Reverend Rainbow has already transmitted out into the universe. I know that right here and right now that each and every person within the sound of my voice is absolutely the life that God is. And so I know right here and right now when I speak of compassion, it is passion, and I am passionate about standing in the power and the presence of the one source of all, knowing that that power and that order and that peace and that love and that abundance and all of that is available right here and right now and is unfolding as each and every beloved in this community. So I know that no matter what the experience may be, that there is a greater truth to be known, and I stand in the power and the presence of that truth. The altar of truth, the place where I go and where I invite each and every soul to open up to and to become. Knowing that each life is the very life that God is, I know right here and right now that nothing can stand in the way of the power of the one, the power of oneness, the power of compassion, the power of love. And so I know and declare that for this community and for all of those beautiful souls, that everything is unfolding in the highest good right now, in the highest perfection of each and everyone's divinity. I know that there is nothing but order in the universe, and so the universe is following, opening up in this divine order. How grateful I am to speak this word and to know the truth as I simply stand in the power and the presence by releasing my word into the perfect universal law, knowing that the law always says yes. It always says yes.
Yes.
It always says yes.
Yes,
I stand in the place of grace by saying Shalom, Hamdalela, Ashe, Namaste. This prayer is done. I leave it knowing it is so. So it is. Amen.